I'm going to talk about several different concepts, okay, in this video. And if you apply all of them, you put them together, you are going to be a master at reading men like a book, telling their true intentions, making less mistakes, which I know you all want, okay? So let's jump right into this. The first concept I want to talk about is more of a foundational one, and it's understanding the importance of time, and more specifically, the time intent correlation, okay? The correlation between how they play the game based on the amount of time that goes by. So here's an important concept I want you to, or equation, sorry, I say concept a lot, that I want you to understand. The first thing is that we are playing a game of risk, both men and women, basically getting from point A to point B with two goals in mind, as efficient as possible and with as minimal risk as possible, okay? Now, with that being said, I want you to understand this equation, both for you and him, and that is the desired outcome plus the chances or percentage of that happening plus the cost equals risk, okay? So, for example, if you have a man who has a high chance getting an outcome with no cost, meaning I can just come over and get laid, what's going to happen? A guy is going to go over and get laid. He's not going to take you out. There's no reason to, right? He got the equation. The best way to reduce risk is to do the following: just come over, hang out, have fun, hook up, and not take you out because you're not setting boundaries or standards to do so. Okay, that's pretty much how this works. Now, why is this important? Because based on a man's strategy or what he wants, you're going to see different types of strategy. Now, before we get into this, it kind of just sounds like common sense then, that if you're watching this video, or this portion of it at least, that you should use time to your advantage. I tell my clients all the time that if you're unsure, wait. If you're unsure, slow it down. If you need more answers, use time, okay? Time is your canvas. It gives you the opportunity, ladies, to pick and choose and listen and to get intel on his true intent. Because trust me, if enough time goes by, you're going to get the answer. I promise you, you're going to get the answer, right? Now, with that being said, there's one thing before we get ready to this part I want to really emphasize, and that's this is a game at the end of the day. Whether you like it or not, it is a game, meaning you cannot screw up either, because it's very hard to recover based on what you're doing, right? I'm not saying that a text here or there or something you say in a text or doing this is going to crumble your chances of getting a relationship. No. But if you sleep with a guy early, okay, you still might be okay, but probably not. And here's why. Right? Same thing with you here. Outcome plus the chances of getting it plus the cost equals risk. You're taking the burden of risk sleeping with the guy early. Now, again, the reason I'm saying, could it still work? Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is because we don't know what guy we're talking about, okay? You just met him. Let's say you slept with him on the first, second, third date. Could he be a good guy and want a relationship? Sure, he could, right? But based on what you just did, he doesn't have to pay the cost now. And the chances are 100% for the outcome that he got. He's more likely to just be chill with things, which doesn't favor you. Because if he's chill with things, this kind of all goes all over the place because he doesn't need time. He got what he wanted. He can slow it down. He can speed it up. And at the same time, you have to understand it's very hard to recover from, because not only everything I'm speaking on right now, but you adapt your game along the way based on the consequences you made. So for example, from my experience with a lot of my clients, when they make a mistake with the guy early on, they're playing two types of games now, meaning, or game plans. One is they get very, subconsciously or not, they get very anxious and they want to recover from it. So they explain themselves. I don't usually do this, or, this isn't something you should expect all the time. I just got in a moment. I'm sorry. I'm in the moment. I apologize, yada, yada, yada. Or they start asking a lot of questions to the guy to get validation to make themselves feel better. They start coming off a little more needy or anxious. And a guy can read that, and that changes the whole playing field. Trust me, it does. If you're not doing that, then the other thing you're doing, which is you gave so much so fast that you retract. So now I have a lot of clients who are retracting. They're like, I don't want him to think he has me, so I'm pulling back. He could reach out. He could do this. If he really wanted a relationship after this, he'd reach out to me. I'm pulling back. This isn't something that's going to happen all the time, right? And again, it just changes the dynamics in a way where this whole thing looks like he has the power, which he does, because you took the burden of risk. Power in my definition of it is whoever can do less and get the same results. The fact that he didn't really have to do anything and you slept with him early on the timeline, right? You can't tell intent. So he could do whatever. You can't tell his intentions. With that being said, let's say you're playing the game okay. Let's say you're playing it not perfect, but you're playing you're doing what you're supposed to do, which is, in my definition, playing it slow. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of flirty, fun banter. You're not giving away too much, such as putting out or, sucking a golf ball through a garden hose. You're just seeing where things unfold. Now, the reason this is important is because of what I just said, right? So if we look at this chart, based on the amount of time that goes by, you're going to start to see things change, okay? Based on their intent, okay? And that's because of this. They wanted to reduce risk. Now, what a lot of people need to understand is early on, let's say right here, okay? Like the 4 or 5 month mark. If you're a client of mine, you will hear me say multiple times to them that guys you can't really tell a guy's intent the first month. Take everything he says or does with a grain of salt, because men aren't stupid. They know they have to invest, okay, to get their outcome. They know they have to invest. So you're going to have all three guys here, right? Depending on what they want, whether it's unsure, they want to hook up, or they want a relationship, they're going to invest. They're going to do that. They're not stupid. However, based on the game plan you have, which is, okay, well, I'm wanting something serious. I want a guy to invest in me long-term, or court me, for a long-term relationship. Well, you're going to start to see different things go on, okay, based on risk. So let me give you an example. When it comes to an emotionally unavailable guy, or a guy who is unsure, but he knows, or sure what he wants, but he wants the assets. So let's say the blue guy right here, this blue line that ends up equaling out, you're not going to have any crazy spikes, because he's just playing it casually, where he's investing when he needs to, breadcrumbing, maybe doing bare minimum and stuff like that. And as time goes on, he's not really losing anything because he's not doing any crazy investments. But because he's not doing any crazy investment or the extra mile or being consistent or doing whatever, his chances of outcome, right, whatever it is, probably sex at least. If he doesn't want a relationship, he still wants sex, right? It doesn't really increase, right? So it kind of wiggles off things and does that with enough time. But you would not be able to tell that without time, okay? So if you screw up before, like in the first half, it's very hard to recover in the second half. So just let enough time go by. Don't screw up the first week or the first month, okay? Now, with that being said, let's talk about the other guy, the yellow here. Whether this is the guy who just wants the outcome of hooking up, hanging out, intimacy, right? The physical aspect of it. A lot of the times you're going to see, because of this intensity, right? He believes that the outcome is based on the cost. He has an outcome of sex the chances are very high that he gets it if he puts out a heavy investment, right? So that's why you see a lot of these guys love bombing you, being very intense, way more than they should for the second week, saying shit like, we feel like soulmates, we met at a different time, or timeline, or life, or some crazy shit like that, or I've known you for 2 or 3 weeks, and I like you more than I liked my wife, who I've known for 15 years, or my ex-wife. They'll say all this crazy shit, right? Planning trips with you. It's very intense, but they're going to realize, because you are a smart woman, smart and beautiful, and you listen to Elliot Scott and the things I say in my videos, you're not putting out. You're not making mistakes. You're very appreciative of what he's doing, but you're not a fool, right? So enough time goes by and he realizes, oh, okay, she's not going to put out, well, shit, okay. So his investment starts to go down. Therefore, his chances of getting what he wants start to go down. So it's easy just to naturally filter these men out based on time. You know this guy, right? I always say, if you want casual, you're going to treat it casual. Not that the guy who's unsure wants casualness, but if he's unsure, to me, that's a red flag. Again, this just kind of fizzles out. I always tell my clients that stagnant is a negative thing, right? It doesn't have to go downhill for it to be negative. It's still not a good thing, okay? This guy naturally is going to cut himself off because he's going to lower his investment when he realizes he doesn't get what he wants. And of course, the last guy who wants a serious relationship, if his ultimate goal is a relationship, sex is, now of course these guys still want to get it in, don't get me wrong, but he's more patient. He's more willing to wait because his ultimate outcome is a relationship, and specifically one with you. So he can go along this path, get past the halfway point or however long. His ultimate goal is a relationship. His chances of getting the relationship or getting laid along the way are going to increase. And let's say you decide to sleep with him like here or something. Okay, cool. He got that, but that's not the goal. It's a relationship, so you're still going to see this type of intensity. Now, when I say intensity, I don't think these guys, let me actually rewrite this. This is what it usually looks like. We'll use white for the guy who wants a relationship. It usually doesn't spike up like this. It's spiking up because I'm talking about the chance of the outcome. Okay, I'm not talking about investment like a lot of you might think I am. When it's investment for a guy who wants a relationship, or for a guy you should be looking at, what you should be looking out for in terms of investment, it should look like this, the white line, right? So it should go like this. It should go up, but then it should kind of go like that, right? Kind of like mellow out, but still increase by several percentages. Now, that, of course, this isn't literal, but what I mean is, you're not going to have a guy who is going to just go, whoop, oh, I love this girl, fuck yeah. That's not even realistic. I always tell I'm going off on a rant now. I tell my clients it has to go through 4 stages, okay? Okay, here we go. This isn't even what the damn thing's about, but it's important to tell you if you want to transition from a relation or from casual to committed, okay? Here's the 4 stages it has to go through. Sorry, ladies, you're getting my fucking rants now. It has to go through, you have to get a date. The first thing is just to get a date. I don't care, just get the damn date. That's the first thing. Second thing, that's a D for date, is consistent dates, okay? I always say it doesn't really start counting until date 3 or 4. That, now you're dating. Date 3 or 4, now it's something, okay? So once you get dates, you get consistent dates, like I said, 3 or 4 in the chamber. It's horrible to say in the pocket. Then the next one is it has to start feeling like a relationship. So I'm just going to have FR there. It has to feel like a relationship. So once you get dates, you get consistent dates, then it's time to start adding variables to make it feel like a relationship. And then once it feels like a relationship, a guy is naturally going to transition into a relationship, okay? So what I'm saying with all this is when it comes to the investment, that does not look like this skyrocket. It looks more like this slow, that's just more of a natural, like, this is what it's going to look like routinely as we move in towards a relationship. This is what the relationship looks like. It's not always going to be fucking sunshine and rainbows or first date intensity all the time or feelings, People fight, people have disagreements, people rather just chill and take a break and stay home and cuddle, but you're okay with doing that because you trust the guy and you've been talking for 2 months, yada, yada, yada. But before we move on to the next session, to sum this up, right? Time and intent, there's a correlation between them. Your job is, with time, is to use it to your advantage as an opportunity to read men, because with enough time, right? Maybe not early on, not on this side, but with enough time, you start to see a man's true intent, because he's trying to avoid risk or cost based on the outcome, okay? Or based on his outcome, he's trying to avoid risk, okay? And there's no reason for a man who just wants sex to keep doing this and keep going. Now, do they? Yeah, but that's why we have other sections of this video. Let's transition over to that. So after all this talk of time and letting things play out, I get 2 common questions from women. Number one is, okay, I got it. I got to slow it down. I got to see his true intent. I got to let things, kind of play its course so I can better filter men. But what am I actually looking for? What can I do? Okay, and what am I looking for? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, okay, Elliot, I got you. But here's the thing, I've done this before, and there are men who are willing to wait and pull some BS all the way until months and months until they get it, okay? And they still don't commit at the end of the day. After they get it, they pull away. What do I do? Well, that's what this section is about. As you can see right here, it's called framing. Now, before we go any further, you need to know several definitions, which I'm going to pop up on the screen right here, okay? So the first one is framing. And to me, this is the art and skill of constructing an atmosphere or narrative in a believable way so that your partner perceives the relationship, intentions, and dynamics the same way you do. The next one is variables. Basically, these are the things you do and say within a frame that help position, prove, or condition the person of your frame. And lastly is a frame battle, which this is basically is where each of you introduce variables to overpower the other person's frame. Now, if that's a lot, don't worry, I'll show you what I mean here, okay? So behind here, I have, well, first let me show this. This is a little holy trifecta, the 3 things I just mentioned. You kind of have to have all of them. You can't have 2. You got to have all 3, okay? But when I talk about frame, I'm going to give you examples here, okay? So this up here would be frames. Let's say you want a relationship and he wants something casual. So when I say convincing or constructing an atmosphere or vibe, right, in a believable way to convince someone of your position, at the end of the day, a frame battle is going to be you throwing in variables to try to convince him of a relationship, or that, hey, are we on the same page, or are you looking for a relationship? This is what I want, versus him doing that same thing, but in terms of casualness. Now, all these things I list here are what we call the variables, okay? So variables can be the consistency, the communication, the transparency, the hooking up, the pace, the this, that, all those things. But based on what those are, you can kind of tell a man's frame. So here's what I mean. When it comes to hooking up, what do you, I guess, let me back up. I guess a better way to explain it is if someone were to tell you, explain what a casual atmosphere looks like, or a casual vibe, friends and benefits. What does that look like to you? The stuff you start naming off are variables, okay? Vice versa. If someone says, what does progressing towards a relationship in the dating stage look like? You're going to start labeling or naming some things. Courtship, consistency, transparency, communication, numerous amount of dates, frequency, progressing, getting to know each other. All those are variables. So when we are introducing these variables, we're trying to convince someone of our frame. So a relationship frame would look like balanced hookups, meaning there's dates involved between the hookups, consistency, dates, frequency. There's certainty. He's not leaving you wondering. No mixed signals. No, none of that BS. There's plans involved. It's not last minute bullshit. There's effort involved. He actually takes time getting to know you, planning dates here and there, and things like that, building more depth and rapport. There's progress. It's not just stagnant or just chill. There is a goal involved. And then, of course, transparency. That's what a relationship frame looks like. Now, on the other end, the casual, it looks like low effort hookups. Hey, you want to come over type of thing. Inconsistency. Okay. Come over, just low effort, no dates, just, hey, you want to come over? Uncertainty, again, last minute, low effort. You can see I'm saying the same thing over and over pretty much. They're stagnant, and it lacks transparency. And it lacks transparency a lot of the time because a guy doesn't want to give you transparency because you can make a better decision on leaving his ass, right? So these guys kind of like leave you afloat, wondering. Now, when it comes to the stuff I talked about in the previous section, time, right? And looking for signals or signs. This is what you're looking for. Ladies, if you are in a situation where you feel like you are pulling teeth or you are giving a guy too many shots, more shots than he deserves, or you feel like you're the only one putting in the effort and wanting to make it work, that's what it's a frame battle. Now, whether you know it or not, it's a frame battle. And what this essentially means is you're putting in the effort, you're trying, you're giving him chances and stuff like that because you are pulling it more towards this. Like, hey, I want a relationship. Like, dude, I'm giving you a shot. But he, on the other hand, is coming over here and he's not biting on it. He's not taking advantage of the fact because he doesn't want to conform to your frame. He wants to stay over here, right? And he's I guess what I call it the negotiation sometimes too, that you guys are negotiating these things. He's hoping I guess you both are hoping in a way, if I can just outlast them or, call their bluff or something like that, they'll come around type of thing, right? So there's a lot of guys who will do this bullshit. Women will give him multiple chances, and during that multiple chances, like the timeline of that, he's getting these things. You eventually come over. You eventually, just because you want to see him. It's better than nothing, right? That's what a lot of people say. You do last minute. You put up with low effort. It's stagnant. It's like, yeah, I see him often, but it's not really going anywhere. Whether you know it or not, you are conditioning, or he's conditioning you to his frame. So let me give you a great example of this I used in like my guides, which, by the way, if you're wanting my guides, I have 9 of them. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about is in them, okay? 9 free guides. Just click the link below. But here's the analogy I always use. Let's say you and a guy are hooking up. You say you agree to friends with benefits at first. Let's just say you agree to that, okay? You agree to that frame, which is a mistake. Don't ever do that. But hypothetically, and let's say over time you start catching feelings, right? So now you start introducing other variables. You guys are consistent. You guys are opening up. There's rapport. You're sex, but you're only talking to each other. Like all these type of things. Well, one time after hooking up, you're at his place and you're laying there cuddling, and you start to bring up the relationship talk. Okay, you bring up the relationship talk. And you look up at him and say, hey, I'm really liking this. It seems like we're already in a relationship. I've been thinking about it. I want something with a little more substance, a little more value. It was fun, but I want to take this to the next level. However you want to say it. He looks at you and says, oh, you poor fool. Like, not really said that, but he pets your hair, gives you a kiss on the forehead and says, hey, you know what? I like you too. I like what this is, but why change it? It's working for us. Like, let's just keep it what it is. And you're a little upset about it, you're like, okay, but you're still upset because it's not what you actually want. You don't talk to him for 2 days, but you end up coming back around and picking up where you left off, okay? That is you lowering your boundaries and accepting his frame. Now, you try to frame battle him, right? Because you introduce certain things such as the talk. You reference, hey, this is what I'm looking for. It might change my mind. So you're negotiating, but he's always going to win this. Well, unless you like walk away, then I guess just like any negotiation, you just get out of your seat and walk. Then it's lose. But he always wins this because he's going to win the frame battle because he has stronger variables. All these were already in place. You're already hooking up. He's not lying when he says, well, it's a good thing and it's working. It's not like I'm treating you like shit, whatever. Even though it was last minute, even though it is low effort, even though there is stagnant, and it's a lot of hooking up, his frame was so strong that you could not pull him over to do all these things. And the reason that is, ladies, this is why I tell you, do not, for the love of God, I don't care if you don't want a relationship. I don't care if you just got out of one and you're just wanting a hookup, or you're looking at this guy. And I have so many clients who are like, I don't even know if I want a relationship with this guy. Yet they pay me a lot of money to talk about him, right? Whatever. But they're like, I don't even know if I want a relationship with this guy. Okay, that's cool and all, but if you want casual, you're going to be treated casual. And that involves this. You can't say, hey, I just want to hook up and get this. That's not going to happen. That's not how the law of the universe works. Like I said in the previous section, we go towards the path of least resistance. We go on what is most resourceful. He might start off like this as a friends with benefits. I'm that kind of friends with benefits where I like to do these things, but I'm very transparent with the woman and say, hey, even though I'm doing these things, you're not getting a relationship, which will keep me doing these things, because if I'm doing these things and I'm not transparent and she thinks it's moving towards a relationship, well, that's pressure. So I think I need to be transparent with you, but that's not what she wants. She doesn't want a guy to keep it up. She wants the guy, or you want the guy, to actually transition and commit. But like I said, it's almost impossible because you are showing he has such a strong frame at this point that he's thinking, why would I can have my cake and eat it. Ladies, you got to understand this. I can have my cake and eat it too. I'm in such a good position where I'm basically getting the benefits of a relationship without being in one. Why the fuck would I change that, right? So good luck on changing that frame battle. You're just not going to win that. It's only going to be a win-lose, which is either you commit to his side or you walk away. That's why I tell women, you cannot, in the previous section, you cannot make those mistakes early on. You can't. It's very hard to fix, and this is why. But to sum all this up, what you're looking for is basically these things. Is it hard to transition him over here? Is he already over here? If he is he trying to go back to this? And if he is, again, you might have to have a discussion. But what you're essentially looking for on the timeline of time, that I talked about, is variables. Because if he wants a relationship, he would be smarter to be on this side, showing these variables, having transparency, and being on the same page versus over here. Now, lastly, in this section, I want to talk about something I talk about in the guide, and I mentioned in a lot of videos. And that's framing it from the get-go. A lot of women will tell me, Elliot, what do you mean? If I were to tell you, from the very beginning, ask him what he's looking for. Okay, but if I do that, he's lying. He might be, but that's not the point. You want to condition the frame. You want him to say, well, first off, not all guys lie. Some guys might say, hey, I'm just looking for casual, see where it goes. Okay, that guy's out, whatever. But there might be guys who are lying and say, I want a relationship. I'm looking for something serious. That's cool. Great. You reeled him in, right? There you go. You reeled him in, okay? Whether he's lying or not, now you basically took him and threw him on the timeline, your timeline that I talked about in the previous thing. Now what you're doing is seeing if his actions and words line up right here, okay? And again, it's always going to line up in the beginning. All guys aren't dumb. They are, but they're not. The first 4 or 5 weeks, they're going to do everything you want, everything you say. Before sex, everything you say. You have to be looking at this stuff, okay, along the way. Because when you start to feel a pushback, or it starts to feel like pulling teeth, or you start seeing little subtle signs of this, I'm not saying drop the guy. Keep tabs on it, though. A lot of you don't do that, and then you wonder why you're in the situation you're in. Now, that being said, let's move on to the next section, to layer on top of this, which I think will be very powerful in being able to read a man like a book. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. We're going to layer all these things together, okay? So, filtering questions and red flags. these are things you kind of need to throw out there and also look for when it comes to filtering men, reading them like a book, okay? So I'm going to start off with what I feel are filtering questions, things you can do or say to kind of fill out the vibe, this guy's intentions, along with the other two sections we previously discussed, okay? Again, all this works when you add them all together, not just one thing. So on this side, these are the red flags. Don't worry about this yet. Over here, I have a chart from what I think is important to ask versus things you must know, and then how hard or easy it is to ask these questions. I think they're all pretty easy if you're a wordsmith, but there's things you can just kind of throw out there and you'll be okay versus, you need a little more context or something a little more comfortable before saying it, okay? So I'm going to give you what I think is the holy trifecta of questions to ask. I have learned by doing this for over 11 years, implementing this, asking my clients these questions, I can very accurately, 100%, I can, but for you guys, 90+% dictate if it's going to last, if the guy's emotionally unavailable, yada, yada, yada. Of course, with context. I just don't ask this question, but with everything else I'm feeding you guys, I think you're going to get a very good understanding of what's going on. So the three questions that I think are most important, meaning you must know these, are what's your longest relationship, or have you ever had a long relationship? Your last relationship, when was it? And what are you looking for? Now, you already heard me discuss the importance of asking somebody, what are you looking for? You got to frame it accordingly, okay? It's important. The guy could lie to you, but that's why we're going through all this other stuff. But here's what people don't understand. The reason I'm asking for these other questions is people are there's patterns, okay? We don't steer far away from routine or patterns. If you're talking to a guy, ladies, who is 35 years old, 28 years old, whatever, and he has never had a long-term relationship, you're not going to be the one to come around and change that. Okay? You're not going to come around and change that. That's just the reality of it. And the reason for that is not because you're not awesome, but there's a reason why he's 35 and has never had a relationship over a year, or his longest relationship was a year, okay? Very important. I also, let me go back to this actually. So I really think it's essential to ask someone what they're looking for, because I have so many clients who, you just got to put two and two together. So they'll talk to a 30-something year old guy, 40-something, 25, whatever, who says he wants a relationship, okay? They live in LA. They live in San Diego. They live in Houston, Austin. They live in, New York, Miami, whatever it is, Colorado, or the UK, where there's a lot of prospects. There's a lot of women who are wanting relationships, because all my clients come from those areas, okay? A lot of places in Canada. I can go on and on. And they ask this guy, so what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for a relationship. Awesome, great. When was your last relationship, right? So the other thing I tell women to ask is, when was your last relationship? And he says, 4 years ago. Right there, something should be going off, ladies. Put two and two together. So you're telling me you're a good-looking dude, 35 years old, right? And you want a relationship, and you live in San Diego, wherever the hell you live. I don't know. You live in San Diego, and your last relationship was 4 years ago? What's the problem, bro? There's no shortage of women that want relationships. So what's the problem? That shit has to go off in your head, ladies. And then, like I said, the icing on the cake is when on top of that, you ask him what his longest relationship is, and he says a year and a half maybe, and he's 35 years old, we got a problem, right? Shit should be fucking going off up here. So I think the holy trifecta is asking him what's his longest relationship, what he's looking for, when was his last relationship, okay? Because I feel if his last relationship was 6 months ago, 7, 8 months ago, the chances of him jumping into another one is pretty slim. If it's too long, 3, 4, 5 years, yeah, something's up, okay? That's just me. Then this is the holy trifecta, the main things I think you should ask. The next thing I think you should ask, and this is hard to ask, of course, but I do think you should. You got to have some context, obviously, comfort. You just don't say, hey, were you cheated on? You mostly ask somebody. Actually, I should have changed. I wrote this wrong. I guess I wrote cheated on in a way for you guys to find out if he was cheated on, but you should be asking what happened in his last relationship. That's why I kind of have it up here. It's kind of hard to ask. You just don't ask that out of nowhere. It has to be in the moment. You have to be on the topic. You have to be comfortable with each other sometimes. Sometimes people just talk about it, whatever, if you're talking about exes. But you want to figure out if he was cheated on or not. And this has nothing, it's unfortunate because it's not his fault that his girl fell on another fucking, knob. Like, it is what it is. But from my experience, I learned men who are cheated on, especially recently, with like a year before meeting you, he's emotionally unavailable. That doesn't mean cut the guy off. Just have him go through everything we're talking about in this video. But it is important to understand. Okay, it is really important to understand. So I want you to figure out what happened in his last relationships. Another reason to ask what happened in his last relationships besides, to figure out if he was cheated on, is to see who he blames. If he's talking about, because ladies, I'll say this week, I had probably 2 clients where both of them were talking to dudes, and these dudes were blaming women the entire time, like their exes. They were blaming their exes. Oh, my last ex was nuts, and the other one was a psycho, and she wouldn't let me do it. And it's like, bro, okay, well then stop getting with those women. And if that's not what it is, you're the common variable, man. Like, ladies, I say it in all my videos. Guys will give you the answer. You just got to read between the lines. Don't listen to what he says. Read how he says it. Read the context. Read between the lines. They let it out like it's crazy, right? So figure out why his relationships ended. And then 2 little ones over here I think are important and very easy to ask, which is why I have them on there. Just kind of filler questions, like you fill them out. And that's asking him early on, what are your top priorities right now? If he's on a dating app and he's dating you and he's serious about a relationship, he should say that. Now, he probably knows what you're fishing for, but still, I want you to ask, because if he says, oh, I don't know, I'm just kind of going with the flow. I want to travel, move up in my job, and I'm thinking about getting a dog. And he doesn't, oh yeah, in relationships. Like, if he doesn't, it's like, come on, man. Like, really? Okay. I remember that, buddy. This is a great date. And then lastly, I would say ask him, this is an easy question you can ask on a first date. Where do you see yourself in 2 to 3 years? Okay? Because if a guy says, I don't see he's not going to say it, but if he doesn't say that he sees himself in a relationship, we got a problem. Like, goes back to that guy I was just talking about. So you're saying you want a relationship, but then on top of that, you live in San Diego, you've been single, you're a good-looking guy, 35, you've been single for 3 years, and then you say you want a relationship, and then I asked you what your top 3 priorities are. You didn't mention relationship. I asked you where you see yourself in 2 or 3 years. You don't mention anything about being in some committed relationship. Yeah, we got a problem, buddy. Okay. Again, just filter questions to kind of fill in the gaps. Now, on this side, I have a little scale here. 1 meaning, as you can see, nothing's really over here. For red flags, 1 meaning, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. 10 being extremely bad. You see a lot of them are kind of hovering on this side. Ladies, I first just want to say, do not ignore red flags. I'm not saying you got to make an instant decision. Just don't ignore them. Don't let them... I know I said this 10 times already in this video, but literally right before making this video, I had a client call me. Spent 7 months on a guy. When I told her, what are you like? Come on, you found out 5 weeks in. You found out 5 weeks in this guy's a dud. Yeah, but I hope he was going to change. And then I told her the same thing I'm going to tell all you. you have to create a catalyst for change. It's very hard for a man to realize he's effing up, he's taking you for granted, or that he's just a doofus when everything is working, because you're not leaving due to having hope that things are going to change. He's going to subconsciously take advantage of the fact. If you're not going anywhere, why would he need to change, okay? So you got to throw a wrench in there. Now, with that being said, here we go. Most important thing, if you're talking to a dude and he says, I don't want a relationship, I don't know what I'm looking for, I'm just kind of snoozing around, snooping around, see whatever happens, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do short of looking like Jennifer Aniston that you ain't getting it. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. Take a hike. Right? Tell the dude to take a hike. Number one thing, do not try to change that. You can't. Next thing I think is bad. Starting off as friends with benefits. Do not start off as friends with benefits. You start off with friends with benefits. Well, even if you did start off as friends with benefits, or if the fact that he's okay with it. If a guy really wants a relationship, of course he's still going to sleep with you, but he's going to try to progress it to more, right? To a relationship. But if you start off with friends and benefits, here's what I tell women: you're trying to negotiate a guy now who is in a very, very, very good position. So good, he'd be stupid to change this position, right, that he's in right now. So you are agreeing friends and benefits, basically saying you can have these, I'm going to lower my value so much, I'm going to give you such a good bargain that you can have your cake and eat it too without paying. You can basically be in a relationship without paying the cost of a relationship, right? And you're not going to hear a peep out of me. I just want to ride something, like whatever. I just want to get it in. Good luck on changing a guy's mind on that. Because here's what you don't understand. Now, of course, you could take it away from him. But what I tell women all the time is, why would he commit to you after that? He's in such a good position that committing to you, he's actually losing out. What more could you give him committing to him? You're already not going anywhere. You're already hooking up with him. You're already, he's already your number one dude. You're not talking to anyone else for a majority of you. He doesn't think you're going anywhere. What does he have to worry about, right? He has nothing to worry about. However, if he commits, he loses out because now he has taken himself off the market. He has to start doing boyfriend things that he didn't have to do before. So again, if you start off with friends and benefits or he's pushing friends and benefits, good luck. It's not going to change, okay? Now, kind of said this one over here. If the guy's newly single, this is just my opinion. It's a pattern I see. If the guy's newly single, he's not going to jump back into a relationship. I like to play the game of caution, meaning if a guy's newly single, could he be a good guy and want a relationship? Sure. But you're more likely to get the emotionally unavailable guy who rebound or who's looking for a rebound, tired of relationships, wants to exercise his freedom and things like that. That's just logic, right? You're more likely to get the latter than the good guy. So just be wary of it. And consistency kind of explains itself. I always say if a guy likes you, he won't put himself in a position to lose you. I think a guy who is inconsistent is a very, 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 very clear sign that he does not see you long term. He's actually taking you for granted. X still around. I don't think that's that bad. It is. I'm just cynical. I'm cynical. Take it with a grain of salt what I'm saying here. I just know if an ex is still around, there's a reason she's still around. People just don't entertain things to entertain things. They like what they're getting out of it. So keep that in mind. He doesn't court you. Goes back to friends and benefits. Goes back to what I said in the previous section with framing, right? If he doesn't court you, there's a reason. He's taking you for granted. He likes the position he's in. You're showing some type of signs that he doesn't have to court you, meaning he's probably not doing it and you're sticking around, which is conditioning him to, or teaching him, I don't have to do it. I'm still getting, I'm getting it in. So that's not a bad thing. Stagnant. Like I said, if you're talking to a dude and it's not going like this, that's a problem. If it's going like this or stopping, still a problem. It doesn't have to go down for it to crash and burn. If it's stagnant, it's just like a plane in the sky. If it stops flying, it's going down, right? You don't want stagnant. And the reason for this, for people just, I don't want you to think I'm just throwing shit out there, just making shit up. attraction is very momentum based. Okay, attraction is very momentum based. That's just how it is. We like to move forward. We like progression. We obsess over perfection, progression, and completion. We like reaching goals. We like seeing, things unfold. When you're stagnant, trust me. I know you. Oh, I know women feel it because I hear it all the time with my clients. But you feel that sudden stop. You feel that sudden change. You feel that he hooked up with you one day or 1 week, and then the next week he's acting a little different. Men feel it too, right? Subconsciously, consciously. Stagnant, not a good thing. Cheated on, we kind of discussed that already on why it is. Maybe it's not his fault. You could get a good guy, but you're probably going to get the emotionally unavailable guy after it. And then still on apps. The reason I have that all the way over here is it depends on how long you've been talking. If you've only been talking for several weeks, he's on the apps. If you're on date 7 or 8, those apps should be paused. He should fucking delete. You guys should have a conversation. Whatever, he should be getting off them the closer you are, the longer you've been dating. So this one, I guess, can slide on the scale. So with all that being said, ladies, we're going to jump into the final thing, and that's pretty much putting all this together with a character profile. Now we're talking about character profiles. This is the last thing, at least for this video. I'm going to give you a lot more later on about filtering men, other stuff I use. So character profile, what does this mean? Essentially, here's what I do with a lot of my clients. It's very easy on my end of the job, okay? Because I'm listening to everything in hindsight. And a lot of my clients are telling me the story of what happened. Obviously, something went wrong, hence why they're talking to me for 80% of them. Some of them just want to prevent or get better at dating, which is great. You all should get a session with me if that's what you want. But most of the time, something happened. They don't know what happened, or it caught them, by surprise, and they tell me the story. Now, what I do as a coach, I literally do this. You should see my doodles. They're kind of cool because the girl would be telling me pictures or stories about a guy, and here I am like drawing him with his old tattoos, and they say he's 71 or he's 45 or whatever, and I'm drawing these guys. But I draw something simple, as simple like this, okay? I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. I do a lot more than this in terms of like adding things and notes, but I want to draw a picture, okay? And then I take every single thing they're telling me, the pros, the cons, important notes that I think are essential, and everything I've talked up to this point, okay? And how he acted or reacted to it. So, for example, things he said when you asked him these filtering questions, or red flags that stuck out, or things he might have said that made you think, or just patterns, right? All that type of stuff. And I start writing it down on a piece of paper for every one of my clients. I do this, okay? And I call it the character profile. Basically, I do this, I step back, I look at it, and I come to some conclusion on whether it makes sense or not. Okay, so let me give you a very simple example. We're talking about Jim, who's 41 years old. Jim says to you he wants a relationship. Jim is nice and sweet. Jim is, he tries to see you, when he does see you, it's more of a casual, not that he tries to have sex with you, but he doesn't try to plan anything. It's just, hey, you want to get together, type of thing. He's been newly single out of his 3-month relationship 3 months ago. He has never had a long-term, serious, long relationship, but the good thing is he is consistent. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think this is going to work out with you or not? Do you think Jim is a good guy because he's nice and sweet, he wants a relationship, he's consistent? No. Jim is not going to work out. Jim is not going to work out with you. And again, you might be like, what the fuck, Elliot, come on, give Jim a chance. He's just sitting there, man. You're talking shit right in front of him. Listen, I've been doing this for so long. Here's what women forget. It's what I said last time. Trust me, a majority of the time, when this is in the picture, okay, it's what I said last section. If he has never had a long-term relationship, you're probably not the one to change that. Also, newly single, 3 months. A lot of women, this is where I start as a coach, where I think expertise is higher up. Now, I made this a very stupid, simple one, but I'm very good because I see patterns at correlations. To me, it's not a coincidence that he is newly single and never had a long-term relationship. That's not a coincidence to me. A lot of people, unfortunately, you guys, because you like the guy and you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's a like bias, you see the red flag, you ignore it because he says something like this, right? That okay, you know what, it was the wrong chick. It was the wrong chick. Jim even told you it was the wrong chick. There's just something about her. She was just, I don't know. She was nice, but I just didn't feel the connection. Okay, well, Jim, well, shit, you just got out of a relationship with the girl. Again, you're 41 years old. You never had a long-term relationship. It's not a coincidence to me. Like I tell my clients all the time, all this stuff, great. But here's what you have to understand. You've only been dating Jim, let's say, for 3 to 4 weeks. Maybe not even that, right? Let's just say 2 weeks. Not that it really matters, but 2 weeks. If we go over here to this section, okay, remember the whole time thing, you're only right here. You're only right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Like you're only right here. You have no idea how Jim is going to unfold. But I can tell you right now that you are not going to get in a long-term, happy, healthy, loving, forever and ever and ever relationship with Jim because Jim doesn't know what that takes. He has no idea what that takes. He's been alive for 41 years and he cannot get a relationship over 1.5. That's his longest, 1.5, okay? He has no idea what it takes. So for you to assume that Jim's the one who's going to go like this, and it's going to go, and then it's going to, we're going to, to a relationship, and no, that's not going to happen. Jim is more this guy, where it's going to kind of, whatever, and then once he gets bored with you, or it's just going to go off. That's more likely to happen, because here's what is so important that women, or my clients, I guess, because they always ask this, that they don't understand. Mixed signals are not a thing. I would have so many people come to me. I know it sounds like I'm yelling. Sorry. I'm not yelling. I'm not in a bad mood. But I would have so many people come to me, and they would say, but if this, then why that? But if he doesn't like me, why does he stick around? If he doesn't want a girlfriend, why does he treat me like a girlfriend? If he says they do a lot of this, okay? And what you got to understand with that is I don't give a rat's hairy ass if he says he wants a relationship, if he's nice and sweet, right? If he's consistent. If Jim is breaking up, if Jim just got out of a relationship that was 3 months long, he's 41 years old and never had a serious relationship, the odds of you being that girl are slim to none, right? Or let me give you another example, the ones I just kind of used. A lot of women will say, if he doesn't want a girlfriend, then why does he treat me like one? Stick around. Because he's not stupid. That's why, ladies. Men aren't, well, they are, but they're not. Men aren't stupid when it comes to the game. They know I'm in a really good position and I'm this close to getting laid. I'm going to keep treating her really well so I can get it in, right? That's what they do. That's what if he was done with me, or if he said he was tired of it and I drive him crazy, why did he come back? He could have just let me go, Elliot. We didn't talk for 5 weeks and he comes back around. So he must have missed me, right? Nope. He missed the assets. He didn't miss you. He missed the assets. You wouldn't be in that position to begin with if he really wanted something with you, right? That's how you have to look at it, ladies. You have to look, I guess the 3 things I'm talking about are, you have to remember this, mixed signals are not a thing. You have to be very good at looking at correlation, right? So like this stuff, like how things correlate with each other, okay? And this is all under the character profile. These are very important things you need to do. So we'll say 1, sorry, this is all over the place. I'm just adding this now. 2 and 3. I guess I'm going to say his best, hopefully you can see this, interest, okay? You need to understand he's acting in his own best interest. So and this kind of goes back up to this, there's no mixed signals. It's hot when he wants something, cold when he doesn't. You're seeing it as mixed signals. He's seeing it as, I need to go to the store to get some fucking milk, so I'm going to go to the store and grab milk. Doesn't mean I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's happening. So ladies, now I almost want to make a book on this, like a little doodle pad where you could draw, but you all can do this yourself. This is literally what I do. I draw, I ask important details about the guy first. What's his name? How old are you guys? How far does he live from you, right? Because if he lives 2 hours away, girl, it's not happening. Like stuff like that. Well, that's not true. That does happen a lot. But, it's just another liability that you have to overcome. I start asking questions. How long has he been single? How long have you guys been dating? Did you hook up early on or not? Like, I just try to get as much detail as possible. You almost want to sit down for 15 minutes and just start asking yourself these type of questions. Just things, I guess I could write a lot of questions. I'm going to put them right here. Just a lot of questions you should start asking that might seem off the cuff, but are really important when you start adding context into the picture. And then on top of all this, so now that you understand all this, right? You can start asking, well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And then with everything I'm giving you, you realize, oh shit, okay, well, he's doing it because he wants something, or it's in his best interest to do this, or I can see how these two things correlate. If you do this, along with every single thing I've said up to this point through this video, you are going to be very good at reading men. Trust me, ladies. You just got to do this often. The reason I always say I'm good at it is because I just see patterns. I talk to women all day, every day, and then if I'm not, I'm studying this, okay? So I see it like it sticks out like a sore thumb to me. But you can honestly get this type of ability, these magic powers, okay, if you just keep doing what I'm doing. So literally, the guy you're talking to right now, and I know a lot of my clients are watching this, so I've had a lot of clients the last couple of days. I know a lot of you are watching this. Do this with your guy. And you will, because a lot of people will tell me when I'm talking to them, they'll be like, well, now I feel stupid saying it out loud talking to you. Because some of my clients would take 30, 40, 45 minutes within an hour session to talk. And they're like, 30 minutes in, they're like, oh man, I feel stupid because saying it out loud, yeah, this guy's an idiot. Like this guy is definitely unstable, or this guy is definitely a POS, right? So it's no different. Write it down and you will be shocked on how crazy your dude is, your situation is, and how you're actually probably giving him more chance than he deserves, because he probably doesn't deserve, he deserves one, okay?Maybe two, but you'll have to get a session with me to find out if that's the case. I don't know. Ladies, that being said, if you want to work with me, link down below. If you want my 9 free guides, link down below. I love you all. Take care and peace.